But I often, like this past week, I think, what was it? Tuesday to Wednesday. Tuesday to Wednesday, I worked 20 out of 28 hours because I worked a late shift followed by an early shift the next day. And then again, it happened Wednesday into Thursday. I had a big stretch of time off, like from Tuesday afternoon or into Wednesday. Anyway, I worked another like 18-hour shift, basically. And people look at me and they go, "How do you do that?" Because it happens, not infrequently, right? But I get up and I get it done. And it's not hard for me to get up and get it done because I have tied my own personal values to what I do. I really value the fact that I make sure that these environments are safe and secure and worry-free for the teams that work in them so that they can, in turn, not fret about that kind of thing, so they can take care of the pets and the pet parents that roll in there on a day in, day out basis. Because some of these clinics can see anywhere from 20 to 50 to 80 pets in a day, depending on how many vets are in there and what's going on. And some of them are some of them perfectly healthy, and some of them are really, really sick. And so I have tied my own personal values to that. So getting up in the morning or in the middle of the night, as it frequently is for me, is not a big deal because I'm motivated by my own values that I've tied to this work. So the question we're going to look at today is very much about what are the things that maybe you find challenging in your life, and how can you go about the business of tying those values that you've established for yourself in your own world. How can you tie those to that? The things that maybe you consider challenging. So stop and consider, what are the challenging things you have in your world? The things that you do, but you really don't like to do them, these things you tend to put off. You procrastinate about it. Getting the mail out of the mailbox. For me, that's a thing. Because, okay, short story, little digression. So we live in this community, and literally right in front of where we live, there's one of those little mailbox stands with all the mailboxes in it. But ours is not in there. Ours is in the one a block away. What's up with that? I don't understand. So it's frequently, it could go a week and a half without us getting the mail. One time we went for a while, and we got a little note in the box saying, "You can pick your mail up at the post office now." Yeah. They took it, and anyway. So yeah. But most of the things that are important come by email anyway. Anyway, back to what we're talking about. So what are you passionate about? What are the values that you are passionate about in your life? If you took the time to do the exercises this last week that Reverend Joe gave to you, to kind of figure out what are the things you value. What do you spend your time on? What do you spend your resources on? Those are the things that you can identify, that can help you identify your value. There you go. Fishing is one over here. John DeMartini goes on to say, knowing your highest values and activating your genius are two crucial aspects of appreciating your own unique contribution. Appreciating the values factor can therefore help you activate your own unique genius and appreciate the genius of others. Didn't catch that typo. That word is unique. Your own unique genius, and appreciate the genius of others. Tying your values, activating, is directly tied to activating your own genius. And so, what does that mean to activate your genius? What is that about? And Dr. DeMartini goes on to create a list of what happens when you link your values to your genius. You awaken your genius. You keep your brain growing and take advantage of its neuroplasticity, its ability to develop new capabilities and deeper connections. You become capable of learning at remarkable rates. It's like, have you noticed when you're excited about something, it's easy to learn. It's easy to learn, it's easy to remember. You retain knowledge longer and more accurately. You break through educational labels to define your own individual genius. It's like, say my kids have a problem, some kind of dietary problem or issue, something that all of a sudden I become motivated to learn about what diet's going to work. All of a sudden I become a nutritional expert because it's directly tied to something I value, my children's health and well-being. You become a more creative and confident thinker. You become more vitalized. You experience a calm, focused, and centered mind. In other words, I'm able to stay in the moment, stay present with what I'm doing. And aren't those all things that we talk about here at the Center for Spiritual Living? All the things we talk about in the Science of Mind. Staying centered, staying open, being present with what inspires us. It's like the values that we talk about are spiritual values. The values that we talk about are being present with people, being present with ourselves, doing what we can to build ourselves up. All of this comes together in this list in terms of tying our values, tying the things that inspire us to creating something new. Times that inspire to grow in. Our highest values, I have found, my high values, I have found, tend to tie to the things that I say I believe to be true about life. They're tied to knowing that spirit, source, God, universal mind as love is back of everything. To know that when I look out upon the world, what I see is life reflecting back to me the content of my consciousness on a day in, day out basis. Sure, I get frustrated. Sure, I get anxious about some of the conditions as they show up out there in the world. And I can look at those and have my feelings about them and then take a moment, take a breath, and turn from the condition to seeing beyond what appears to be and tell the truth about it. And say that even right there, in the midst of conflict, even right there in the midst of pain, even right there in the midst of what I consider to be chaos, even right there, there too is the presence of spirit, and I can call it forward. And I know I'm not alone in doing that. Because I know that out there in the world, there are millions of people like me doing just the same thing. We are not alone. We're just a pocket right here, right? We are this little facet, this growing facet of the light shining forward. Each of us doing our own work on a day in, day out basis to make a difference, to create the change inside of ourselves so that we can pave the way for others to do the same, to make it easier for them. We are always creating new patterns. As I was sitting in the office after I got here this morning, I grabbed this book off the shelf. I should have, Emerson's Essays. And I flipped it open and I went to this essay on circles. Not that I was necessarily looking for something to add this morning, but here it is. He writes this: the eye is the first circle. The horizon which it forms is the second. And throughout nature, this primary picture is repeated without end. It is the highest emblem in the cipher of the world. St. Augustine described the nature of God as a circle whose center is everywhere and its circumference nowhere. We are all our lifetime reading the copious sense of this first of forms. The moral we have already deduced in considering the circular or compensatory character of every human action. Another analogy we shall now trace, that every action admits of being outdone. It's one way of saying change is always going on. Just when we think we've hit the limit, just when we think we've hit the end, if we pause and really consider it and go inside, we realize that that end is just a representation of a new beginning. That's a point on the journey that we get to say, we breathe, and we say, okay, next. Because the minute we stop and we say, okay, I've reached the end, that's it, that's all I can do, and we don't say next, we start sliding backwards. We start sliding backwards. The next quote I have for everybody: the invisible forces are forever working for the invisible the invisible forces are ever working for us, who are always pulling the strings for ourselves, though we may not know it. We're always pulling our own strings. Like I was talking about in the beginning, is the content of our consciousness is always taking form. And when we tie our values to the things we say we desire, when we add feeling and energy to the things we are saying we are affirming for ourselves, to the things we say we want to create for ourselves, when we stop and do our affirmative prayer work, it is not just the words we are saying, but the feelings we attach to them that make the difference. Right? It's not necessarily the house or the car or the relationship or whatever it is we say we want to create for ourselves, but it's how we want to feel about ourselves and how we want to feel about our lives that we're really after. We want to be happy. We want to be peaceful. We want to be joyful. And so when I'm talking with people and they're struggling and they're having, I can't get this to happen, reverently. I can't create this for myself. And I say, well, how do you want to feel? You're saying the words, but how do you want to feel? That makes all the difference. I say, create the feeling. When you're saying your affirmations, when you're doing your spiritual mind treatment, your affirmative prayer, create that feeling as if it's already happening while you're saying the words. If you want to manifest something in your life, ask yourself the question, how is it you want to feel? I was watching a show this week on Netflix. And it happened, it was like, I don't know how I missed it. The first time I watched this series, I'm not sure how I missed this line. Maybe I just wasn't ready to hear it. But the character in the show Sat there. This character had been hiding out. He was hiding away from the bad guys, had been for years, and he had just locked himself into this box, literally locked himself in a box that he came and went from periodically. His name was Mr. Hoy. Mr. Hoy finally confronted by a new character, a new person to him, saying, "Hey, we can't just sit around. We gotta do something. We gotta take action. We need to make a change." And they've been coming at him with this idea of, we need to make a change. We need to get past this. We need to beat the bad guys, right? And so Mr. Hoy shakes himself and he opens the door, and the other character is sitting across from him and says, "Well, what are you doing?" He said, "I would rather not slowly die of survival." And that kind of hit me. How many times have I found myself in my life becoming so stuck in a way of being that from a certain point of view, I was slowly dying of just survival, of just maintaining the status quo. Saying, okay, I'm good. Tired of growing, tired of the cycle, tired of always questioning, tired of this, that, and the other, right? It's like, I just need a break, man. I get stuck in that survival mode, just hanging on. And so when I find out from now on, I'm going to put this somewhere where I won't forget it, somewhere in my world, on the wall, on a mirror, somewhere for a while, because I need to remember. Because I know it's easy. It's easy to get trapped in change fatigue, right? Get trapped in change fatigue. And yeah, sometimes we need to take a break. We need to just kind of take a break and chill, go have some fun, go do this, that, and the other. We don't have to be always growing, but we always are. But we set up a certain intention for ourselves that says, you know what, I can have fun too. I can have fun while I'm growing. Growing doesn't have to be hard. I can create a value for myself that says, you know what, growth is easy. Growth is fun. Growth can be joyful. Growth can be filled with a sense of adventure. It can be all of that too. It's very easy. I have found my own self. I have found myself in the same space. I said, growth is always challenging, man. When my belief systems get challenged, better step back. It doesn't have to be like that. I can choose and allow for it to be easy and simple too. I can set that up for myself as an intention that says, you know what? My intention is for my growth. I can have peaceful, easy feeling, harmonious growth sometimes as well. I can do that too. Ernest Holmes writes this: faith in God is such a complete conviction that the Spirit will make the gift, that there's no longer any subjective contradiction. Faith says that there is no doubt. If I'm walking in faith, I know that when I speak my word, it's done. There may be a time and a process, but it's done. The law is working. And when I set an intention, I know that the law begins to work for me. That life as Spirit is working for me at each and every moment of the day, no doubt. And he goes on to say this. The person who can throw themselves with a complete abandonment into the limitless sea of receptivity, the law, having cut loose from all apparent moorings, is the one who will always receive the greatest reward. Let's say that again. The person who can throw themselves with a complete abandonment into that limitless sea of receptivity, having cut loose from all apparent moorings, is the one who will always receive the greatest reward. I liked what Edwin Gaines. Edwin Gaines said something very similar. Edwin Gaines, as a Unity minister, became very popular teaching prosperity. And she would say, "What's your hold card? What are you holding on to?" Ernest was talking about having cut loose from all apparent moorings. What is it? I ask myself the question when I'm getting stuck. What am I holding on to? What is the qualifier? Right? That I want this, but I don't want to have to let go of this. I want to live a more prosperous, abundant life, but I don't want to let go of the way I do this. What is it I'm holding on to? I want to be joyful. I haven't been feeling really happy with myself lately. What am I holding on to? What is it that's underneath? How am I hiding from myself? What are the questions? What are the questions I don't want to ask me? Right? What are the questions I don't want to ask me? If I tie my genius, if I tie my values to those things I don't want to do, if I say I want to live a more prosperous life, I say I want to live from a point of joy. I want to be confident. I want to be competent. I want to provide value for myself and others. I want to care for my family. I want to show up for my friends. I want to show up for me. I want to bring value to my spiritual community on a day in, day out basis. If that's not happening for me, what am I holding on to that's getting in the way? What are the ideas and beliefs that I may be holding on to about me, about life, about others, about myself that may be getting in the way? How can I tie my values to those things I'm having challenge doing? Okay. How do I do that? What can I do with that? And so our spiritual practice this week is this: activating your genius. Identify a skill, a topic, or type of information that you would love to master. Okay? Recall your 3 highest values. And if you haven't done that, you can go back to last week's email and you can find the values identifier project. So you recall your 3 highest values. And then write those down. Then you find 20 ways, 10 will probably be sufficient, but 10 or 20 ways in which you fulfill your 3 highest values by studying and mastering the skill, topic, or type of information that you have identified. These will be in the Mindful Monday email that goes out on Monday mornings. I'll make sure that this finds its way in there. If you'd like to sign up for the Mindful Monday email, you can use the QR code. You can sign up in the lobby for that. And with that, now it's your turn. Questions, comments, thoughts, ideas on what I've been talking about this morning. Oh, thank you. And we check and see if there's anything online as well. Go ahead.
Okay. Only thing you brought out into me is I'm one of those that are dying slowly. I want to.
Slowly dying of survival.
That is exactly
Oh,
me, and I don't look at that as a positive at all.
okay. So are we
But you pointed that out to me,
okay? So now you've been looking for ways to shift that.
and I have some ideas.
All right.
But yes.
Good. 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 Bravo. Thank you. Thank you. Anybody else? No.
I want to learn anything techie, the computer or my iPhone.
Okay. All right.
Maybe I'll read something
Okay.
or hear something.
Sure. Well, there's lots of stuff you can listen to and read about all that kind of stuff. It's all over the place. Yeah. Yeah. All right. It's great. Thank you. Anybody else? No? Okay. Well, let's pray then, folks. Let's take all this inside. How wonderful. How wonderful it is to come together each and every Sunday to celebrate life and love and joy and peace, to celebrate the Spirit as it shows up for us. And so we begin by recognizing that there is only one infinite power and presence, one life and love and truth in which we live and move and have our being. And it in us, as us, through us, in this and every moment. And we affirm for ourselves an awakening, an openness to something new, a conscious realization and recognition of our own values and how they tie to each and everything we do. That our awareness of the activity of Spirit flowing in us, through us, around us, guiding and directing us. Our awareness of this activity, of this truth, shines before us, guiding our way. We know what to say, what to do, where to step, how to love ourselves and our friends. We are lifted up, each and every one, to see very clearly the activity of love in every moment. The activity of love as a creative force, as the presence that binds us together. And in speaking this word for each and every one of us here today, we do so for our community, the community we live in, the state, the country, truly the world. Knowing that the light of truth shines forth at each and every point, carrying with it peace and joy and love and care. At every point. We move forward knowing that all is well, that life is good and very good as each and every one of us. And speaking the word for anybody that has a care on their hearts, a desire in their minds and hearts right now, I know it's already done. It's already complete. The resolution is already fulfilled. And we are grateful for it. And so we let it be. And so it is.